All right, so part one of the notes was if the fraction could be turned into tenths or hundredths or even thousandths fairly easily, you had that shortcut trick of making an equivalent fraction so that you can turn it into a decimal. Not always the case. So to change any fraction, even those types, you could do this instead. To change any fraction to a decimal, you can divide the numerator by the denominator. So we've already seen this idea of dividing the numerator by denominator when we turn improper fractions into mixed numbers. When we get more into algebra, we're going to see this horizontal bar, meaning division some more. And actually, we saw it a little bit when we did order of operations earlier in the year as well. So it's division. 3/16 is 3 divided by 16. And it looks awfully funny when you try to actually set it up with the long division. Because 16 goes on the outside, 3 goes on the inside. I had a student once told me that his tutor said the smaller number always goes on the outside. Not true. If we put the smaller number on the outside, we'd say how many times does 3 go into 16? We'd say 5, and then we'd continue going. You know what? 3/16 is less than 1, right? It's a proper fraction, less than 1. So if I did the division, I got 5 stuff and some stuff, I should know right away that that's not accurate. I set it up wrong. So don't go any further if you set it up wrong. So how many times does 16 rather go into 3? We should say 0, which is a more accurate result because I'm not going to have something that's greater than 1. But in order to make it a decimal, remember that trick of putting a decimal point in your quotient and a decimal point in your dividend? And then I can tack on a 0, and then I can ignore the decimal now that I put it in my quotient up there. So who in here, who of you can tell me how many times does 16 go into 30 without going over? This is the dad's division step of long division. How many times does 16 go into 30 without going over?
Once.
1 time. Because mom's multiply step says that 1 times 16 equals what? 16. Sister's subtract step, 30 minus 16 is what? Now we're getting somewhere. 14. Brothers bring down step, because I need a decimal answer, means bring down another 0. Now Rover tells us to repeat the process. How many times do you think 16 goes into 140 without going over? Sister might yell at us. It's a little bit of a guess and check, especially with these pesky 2-digit divisors. How many times do you think 16 goes into 140 without going over? It's a guess. We might have to go back and fix it. 9 times. So we're going to put a 9 up here. And we're going to do mom's multiply step, 16 times 9. Go ahead and do that multiplication. And sister yells at us. 144. I can't take 144 away from 140 without getting into like negatives and stuff. And I don't get into negatives when I'm doing long division. So that just means we have to go back and fix it. Instead of 9, we should go with what?
8.
8. Here's the thing. Don't get rid of your work of multiplying by 9. Maybe we'll need it later. So go ahead and do 16 times 8. It's really hard to erase with the smart board, so I just made the 9 into an 8. You can do it cleaner with your eraser. So go ahead and do 16 times 8, please. 16 times the 8 that we've now decided is a better guess. Who can tell me what 16 times 8 equals? Yes, ma'am.
128.
128. All right, sister likes that better. So we do 128 subtracted from 140 for sister's subtract step. And what do we get? 140 minus 128. Yes, ma'am. We get 12. Still didn't work out evenly. The directions didn't say to a certain place, so I have to keep on going. So I'm going to bring on another 0. And I ran out of room, so I'm going to write it up here. we're back to repeating the process. So now we're at the division step. We did the bring down, now we can do the divide. How many times do you think 16 goes into 120 without going over? Knowing what we know about 16 times 8, 16 times 9. How many times do you think 16 goes into 120 without going over?
7.
We think 7 times. Sounds like a really good guess. So go ahead and do 16 times 7 over here. Are you a multiplication whiz? You already know what 16 times 7 is? Oh, did you just take 128 and subtract 16 from it? That's one way you could do it. But anyway, what'd you get?
I have 12.
112. No matter which way you get it, you get 112. Sister tells us to subtract, it still doesn't work out evenly. What do we get when we subtract? Oh, I was almost going to give you the answer. You're going to give me the answer.
8.
8. It was 80.
And then
Then sister will yell at us.
yeah.
So sister subtracts, gets 8. Brother brings down another 0 to deal with 80.
Oh.
How many times do you think 16 goes into 80 without going over? Back corner. 5 times. Because 5 times 16 is what? 5 times 16. This, all of that is the 80. And this is why when we were doing long division earlier this year, I said sometimes I do a smiley face at the end. Because I'm like, oh, thank goodness I don't have to bring down another 0. So 3/16 is equivalent to 0.1875. We're going to have another long division example. This time, 17/8. Notice it is an improper fraction. So when I do 17 divided by 8 and I want to get a decimal answer, it is going to be something greater than 0 or greater than 1. So 8 goes on the outside, 17 goes on the inside. 17 divided by 8. How many times does 8 go into 17 without going over?
2.
2 times. Because 2 times 8 is what? 2 times 8.
16.
Seriously, I'm asking you 2 times 8, I'm asking you to raise your hand. Yes, sir. In the back.
Me?
Yeah.
It would be 2 times 8 is 16.
Uh-huh. Sister tells us to subtract, we do 17 minus 16 to get what? 17 minus 16, that's right. I'm asking you to do 17 minus 16 in 6th grade. 17 minus 16 get, oh, actually you. I haven't heard from you yet.
Me? It happened anyway, 1.
Yeah, you have. I can stay here. 1. Now brother wants us to bring down. We don't have anything to bring down. We're going to do that decimal point, bring down a 0 deal. Because we want to change this into a decimal number. That's what we're doing the conversion for. How many times does 8 go into 10 without going over? 8 into 10 without going over, 8 into 10 without going over?
Once.
1 time. Because 1 times 8 equals what? 1 times 8 equals what? What's 1 times 8? I want to be an auctioneer.
1 times 8 equals 8.
It equals 8. And then 10 minus 8 equals what? 10 minus 8, 10 minus 8, we're going to get 10 minus 8, we're going to get 10 minus 8, we're going to get 10 minus 8. 2. And then 2 is in brother tells us to bring down, now we're going to be doing it with 20. We're going to be dealing with 20. How many times does 8 go into 20 without going over 20? Going to 20. 8 goes into 20. How many times? How many times?
2.
2 times, because 8 times 2 is what? 8 times 2, what is 8 times 2? We know what 8 times 2 is. What is 8 times 2 is? 8 times 2 is what? What is 8 times 2? We know 8 times 2. 8 times 2 is what?
What is 8 times 2?
16. The auctioneers, you know, they like to ask the same questions over and over again until they get the right answer. Anyway. 20 minus 16, 20 minus 16 is next part of a problem. Next part of a problem is 20 minus 16. We can do 20 minus 16. Everybody in here should know what 20 minus 16, 20 minus 16 is what? 4.
Don't slow it down. Auctioneers.
Now I'm going to bring down another 0, and I'm going to say how many times does 8 go into 40? 8 into 40, how many times? How many times does 8 go into 40? 5 times, because 8 times 5 is what? 8 times 5, what is 8 times 5? 40. And that means smiley face. Yay! So 2.125.
Look, can you say smiley face over and over again?
Smiley face, smiley face, smiley face.
Yay!
Okay. You lost an eye. It doesn't always work out quite that nicely. Sometimes it's a terminating decimal, but it goes on a long time. In that case, typically your directions will say to the nearest hundredth or something like that, and then you would divide to the thousandth so that you could round. Now, there are other times when it would literally go on forever if you let it, because it would have the same thing happen over and over. That's called a repeating decimal. So sit up, look alive. We're going to get back to our auctioning in just a moment. If you see an amount you've already divided into when doing the long division, the quotient will be a repeating decimal. So instead of writing the number or set of numbers 2 or 3 times followed by dot, 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 you could, if you wanted to, use this thing called bar notation. And I think you saw that in your frequent fraction notes.
We saw the little line.
Yeah, that means it would keep on going
Just
forever
like
and ever.
pi.
Pi doesn't keep on going forever and ever. It's a different number every time.
Pi is a different number every single time.
Every single digit.
Pi equal 3.1.
Approximation. Okay.
So that's the notation.
Yep. Bar notation. So bar notation means I'm going to put a bar over the thing that's going to repeat instead of writing it out a few times.
Oh, I thought you said
So 2/9, to find 2/9 as a decimal, I'm going to do 2 divided by 9. So 9 will be on the outside and 2 will be on the inside. And you had to pause and think about that because, you know, I mix up where things need to go sometimes. So I cannot divide 9 into 2, so that's a 0, but then I can put a decimal point and a 0. So how many times does 9 go into 20? 9 into 20, how many times without going over? What are we going to do for our division step when we do 9 into 20?
2.
2 times, because 2 times 9 is what? What is 2 times 9? We need to know what 2 times 9 is. What's 2 times 9? 18. So we subtract 18 from the 20. We subtract 18 from the 20. What do we get when we do 20 minus 18? 20 minus 18 is what? 2. And then we're going to go ahead and tag on the 0 to bring down. Now we're going to ask how many times does 9 go into 20? 9 go into 20. How many times 9 go into 20? 2 times. Because 2 times 9 is what? 2 times 9 is what? What's 2 times 9?
18.
Wait a minute. Okay, yes, I'm repeating myself to get answers, but I'm repeating myself because it's going to keep happening. Again, and again, and again, it's going to keep on happening, right? I'm going to keep saying, I get 2 times, because 2 times 9 is 18, and then I subtract and I get 2, so then I bring down a 0, I get 20, and then I do 2 times, because that's 18, and then I subtract and get 2, and I bring down a 0, and I get 20. I'm going to keep having that happen over and over again. So every single time, I'm going to have 0.2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So as,
Is there a loophole?
it's a recursive program. So 0.22 dot dot dot, or just 0.2, just the one time, and then a bar over it tells people that that 2 is going to keep happening again and again. And all the nights have this kind of thing going on. So if I have 5 nights, it's 0.5555555 forever. Now 3/11 is going to be a little bit different because it's not going to be just a single number that repeats. So 3/11, to find the decimal, we're going to do 3 divided by 11. 11 on the outside, 3 on the inside. How many times does 11 go into 3? That doesn't. So decimal point, decimal point. Tag on a 0. So make sure you're following the steps as we do them. Don't try to jump ahead. So how many times does 11 go into 30? 11 into 30, how many times? How many times 11 into 30? 11 into 30, yes sir.
You told me
2
2.
times. Because 2 times 11 is what? What's 2 times 11? 2 times 11 is what? 2 times 11, what do we get when we do 2 times 11? 22. Because then we're going to do subtraction in 30 minus 22. 30 minus 22 is what? 30 minus 22?
6.
30 minus 22.
7.
30 minus 22. 22, the auction thing just went bust. 22 plus how many gets you to 30? You quiet down, sir.
I thought you were asking me.
No, I was asking you to stop.
8.
8. And now we're going to go ahead back to the auction. Okay, so now we got 8 as our difference. Since we didn't have the LS because 8 less than 11, so we bring down another 0 because brother tells us to bring down. And now how many times is 11 going to 88? How many times is 11 going to 88 without going over? 11 into 88. We wanted to bring 11 into 88 as many times as we can without going over 11 into 88. How many times?
7.
7. Because 7 times 11 is what? What's 7 times 11? 7 times 11. 7 times 11. What are we going to get? What is 7 times 11? 7 times 11. What are we going to get for 7 times 11? 7 times 11. What's 7 times 11? 7 times 11.
3.
7 times 11?
Oh, sorry. 7.
Someone's jumping steps. 7 times 11 is 77. 77, and we subtract, then we get, what do we get when we do 80 minus 77? 80 minus 77, what's 80 minus 77? 80 minus 77, what do we get for 80 minus 77? Blue shirt,
Oh,
ponytail,
3.
big smile. bring down another 0. This auction is not going so well. 11 into 30. How many times is 11 going to 30? How many times is 11 into 30? Woo! It's getting hot in this auction. 11 times. How many times is 11 going to 30?
Twice.
Twice, because we already answered that question. Because it's 2 times 11 is 22. We subtract, we get 8. We bring down another 0, we get 80. We get a 7 again, 77, 3, 0. You know, it's going to keep on happening. Keep on keeping on. Right?
Alright, you're going too fast.
So 0.2727 ... or 0.27, and the bar is over the 2 and the 7.